What's up, average viewers? She-Hulk episode 1 debuted on Disney Plus last Thursday. Is it a smash hit, or is it another fail for Marvel Phase 4? Stick around to find out. Alright, you guys, She-Hulk has a 5.4 on IMDb, but a pretty decent score on Rotten Tomatoes. So which score accurately reflects this show? Sadly, I think it's closer to a 5.4 than an 82. I say sadly because I really didn't want this show to be bad. I'm not rooting for Marvel to fail. I don't want things that come out to be bad. And let me clarify, this show isn't bad, but it's not particularly good either. Keep in mind that I'm approaching this review from a filmmaking standpoint, okay? Things like writing, storytelling, performance, editing, etc. I'm not approaching this review from a comic book lover's perspective or a political perspective. Politically, there are people praising the show for introducing another female superhero, and there are people who hate it automatically because it's progressive or preachy or whatever. From a filmmaking standpoint, I will simply say that at times, the writing feels kind of lazy, especially in terms of explanations for things or random plot conveniences. Like how they completely write out Jen having to train or gain skills or learn or control her new power. Yes, I understand that the character doesn't have an alter ego, but you still have to grapple with something about this huge change in your life. I mean, she was basically like, yeah, it was weird to transform the first time, but now it feels like it's settled in and I can control it already. Now, Tatiana Maslany does a good job acting in this series, but it feels like there were some really important, impactful, and emotional beats that were just missing from this episode. She doesn't ever take a minute and just digest what's happening to her. She only exudes resilience and confidence and determination. In good writing, we have to see some weakness in our characters. We have to see resilience falter or have a moment of weakness in order for it to be an attribute of our characters that we admire. Otherwise, it's hard to relate to our character because they can't seem to do anything wrong or never have to struggle to gain a new skill. This is where film criticism gets interpreted as political. Audiences are tired of characters who aren't flawed, who are always right, and whose power is to be empowered. Unfortunately, this lazy treatment of characters is almost exclusively applied to female characters emerging recently in the MCU, and so when this criticism is mentioned, it becomes a political debate instead of a discussion about how to write good characters. The truth is that nobody minds female superheroes. In fact, they really like them. Think about Black Widow, Gamora, Wanda, Raven, and everybody loves them. But you'll notice that it's because they're well-written and developed characters with complex arcs. I mean, Black Widow was a Russian assassin, Gamora was the daughter of Thanos, Wanda wanted to kill Tony Stark, and Raven toes the line between good and bad all the time. There's depth to these characters and sins in their past and virtues as well as weaknesses, and that's what we love and relate to. Anyways, even explaining myself the way that I have, the discussion is still going to turn political, which is annoying, but whatever. I just wish that Jen's whole backstory wasn't that she gets catcalled or mansplained in the office, and the constant sort of eye rolling that occurs between women whenever a man shows up on screen is a little bit annoying. This is another illustration of poor writing in the show, because sure, you can have a monologue about how she's great at controlling her anger, but it's written in an accusatory, condescending way to Bruce as if he doesn't know or understand what it is to have rage. It's bad writing because it reduces Bruce to a male who doesn't understand trauma or rage, but that's not canon. It's not internally consistent, and it's just not true. Bruce has dealt with unreal trauma. He survived suicide attempts. His first love's dad was hunting him down with the might of the US government. He lost countless friends in battle, including his second love. He's constantly losing control of himself and agency and being pegged as a monster. He was the pawn in Loki's plan, and he was stuck as his alter ego for over 2 years on another planet, basically forced to kill people in competition. And it's fine, I understand the monologue, but it's just that use of the word infinitely more. Like, did you just hear the list I gave for Bruce? Her list paled in comparison to that list. It's not even close to infinitely more. So instead of writing something impactful and also consistent in the universe, they went straight for politics, which is annoying. I read a comment that I liked suggesting what she could have said, and she would have said, I control my anger when the justice system fails the innocent people, when I have to defend rapists, killers, and common thugs because I was paid to do so, which counters my personal beliefs, but I don't own my own firm. See, that's interesting writing. It's consistent with the beliefs and the motivations of our character. Anyways, switching points, I genuinely do like what I've seen of this character so far. She's funny, she's witty, she's smart, she believes that she can make a difference, and she wants to. But I felt that this sucker punch was totally unjustified and made me lose respect for the character. This whole fight scene was a little bit cringe. It's suddenly okay to sucker punch your cousin in the face just because you're both big and green. It was the weirdest fight in the MCU, and I think some producer was like, We needed to have some action in episode 1. Can Hulk and She-Hulk fight? The CGI, in my opinion, wasn't unwatchable. It wasn't even that bad. I liked how most things looked, but it was the poor editing that really did it for me. Like when Titania randomly broke into the courtroom and basically stood there for 30 seconds, I guess, while Jen decided on whether to morph or not. Then there's a super rushed action scene where benches disappear and appear out of nowhere. It's honestly just a mess. I also don't want to be that guy who has to say it, and I hope I don't offend anyone, but Mark Ruffalo is not a very good actor, and his performance in this series has been pretty subpar, even by his standards. All things said, you guys, even if the show didn't start off on the best foot, there is a lot of potential here, and I think that future episodes have the potential to be really amazing, and maybe this one was just a dud. There are already some fun and funny moments in this episode, and the tone that they're setting is pretty good. I really like the fourth wall breaking. If they continue to develop that further, and if they introduce some riveting court cases, I think that the show could turn out really great. And we should probably give it a few more chances, because just like Jen said, we wouldn't pay attention to what the show is actually about, which is like a court drama, comedy, Legally Blonde thing going. We wouldn't pay attention to that if we didn't see the backstory. And so this episode feels like an aside. It feels like a tangent that the show isn't going to focus on. So maybe we should watch the rest of the series and find out how it's going to go. All right, you guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you agree with me that the show started off on a questionable foot, or did you like it and hate my stupid face and my opinions? If you like Tatiana Maslany in the show, then hit that subscribe button and I will personally let her know. As always, Noah, thanks for watching, and the rest of you, stay average.